there's a pretty complicated sort of relationship that there is between the Bible and history. But we're going to try and distill some of the issues and some of the perhaps the perspectives and right ways to think about history in the Bible by looking at a test case. And we're going to look at an individual, a king, King Hezekiah.
We've got a few different sources, okay? So, and this is why this is such a good example, because we can look at the different types of sources, we can take them in turn and evaluate them, and that's what we're going to do. So we've got within the Bible itself, there's quite a few references in different places to this King Hezekiah. He's quite a significant character in the Old Testament. So there's a lot about him, and it seems to have the events of his life seem to have influenced quite a lot of things. So absolutely.
Okay, and if he's got a few chapters in each of those Kings and Chronicles records, some of those kings just get a few verses, but he's got a few chapters. So, but if we're just looking there in the Bible, I mean, that's not really going to tell us anything about the interface between Bible and history, because it's just kind of a circular argument. So we need to think about outside the Bible as well.
Yep.
What do we find there?
Yeah, so there's quite a lot of information. There's things from Jerusalem itself. So we're looking at the history or archaeology of Jerusalem. So there's a few things to look at there. And then there's things from the nations around Judah and Jerusalem, the people who interacted with Hezekiah. We're looking at things like the Assyrian records, and specifically Sennacherib, the king of Assyria, and what he said. Most sort of famously is the Siloam Tunnel, and it's something you can go and walk through right today. So this is a tunnel under Jerusalem that was created, formed, dug from two ends and joined together, and the purpose of that construction, that engineering sort of feat, is to divert water courses. So it is.
So I've definitely seen pictures of that. Of people you can walk through it, and although there might be a bit of water in the bottom of it.
Yeah, the water flowing, and it's a shallow gradient, and the point was to divert water. The best explanation for it is to divert the water source from outside the city walls to keep it within the city walls, so that any invading force wouldn't have a supply of water if they were sort of setting up a siege against Jerusalem. So
pretty sensible measure.
Absolutely. The Assyrians wrote lots of records of the things that they did, very much like we've got in the Bibles, we've got Kings and Chronicles, sort of pretty much records of the things that the kings of Israel and Judah did. So we've got the annals of Sennacherib. He's recording quite a lot of his military campaigns and what he's doing, and going around his empire and expanding his empire and so on. I think I'll read to you, not all of it, but some of the relevant passage. As for Hezekiah, the Jew, who did not submit to my yoke, 46 of his strong walled cities, as well as the small cities in their neighborhood, which were without number, by leveling with battering rams and bringing up siege engines, by attacking and storming on foot, by mines, tunnels, and breaches, I besieged and took those cities. Himself, so here he's now talking about Hezekiah, himself, like a caged bird, I shut up in Jerusalem, his royal city. Earthworks I threw up against him, and the one coming out of the city gate I turned back to his misery. So basically he's saying, look, I trapped him in his city, I besieged it, he couldn't get out.
But he's named Hezekiah.
Sure.
There.
When we move to both the Bible text and also Sennacherib's text, I think we're moving into a different sort of territory, aren't we?
Yeah.
These are things, the archaeological things are just snapshots of moments in history. But these texts are people's opinions on things, people's biases, people's views on the things that happened, people's views on why things happened, and people's views on, how people should react to them. So both the Bible and Sennacherib's annals are going to be different. So
yeah, they're making claims.
Definitely,
aren't they?
yeah.
Sennacherib is claiming his almighty strength.
Yep.
And the biblical record is making some different claims about who's in control.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So just think about Sennacherib for a minute. He says that he shut Hezekiah up like a caged bird in Jerusalem, which seems to be what happened for sure, and because that's pretty much in all the records that we have. He doesn't say that he defeated Jerusalem.
Yeah,
he doesn't
that's interesting.
He doesn't say he doesn't say that he broke the walls down and defeated it and everyone was killed. He doesn't say that Hezekiah was killed. He doesn't say anything like that at all. He doesn't say that he lost. He doesn't say that his army were killed or decimated in any way. It's not likely that he would say that. And if this, the purpose of his account of his writing is to sort of demonstrate his achievements and his power and his prowess.
What can we get to as principles, things that we can learn from how Bible and these historical sources are connected, working together, not connected in other ways?
Yeah, so I think we've got to sort of acknowledge that the Bible isn't there as an objective history textbook.
Okay.
Now, I don't think that it probably exists, actually.
That's a fair point, yeah.
Because when anyone writes about history, or writes a biography about someone or whatever, it is always to try and demonstrate who was in the right, who was in the wrong, why things happen. So history is like that when people write it. So this shouldn't be a big surprise to us.
No.
I think it probably is sometimes a big surprise to a number of people.
Although there's a little bit more in a modern context, historians will set out to present a multi-sided view of what happened. So there's a discipline that is designed to bring some objectivity.
Yeah, there's modern methodology, isn't there? Yeah. In history, historians, how they approach history.
Yeah, but I think we can say that these ancient texts are not necessarily trying to apply those disciplines. They're doing something else.
That's right.
We looked at evidence from outside the Bible. We looked at that first, and sort of a few cold, hard artifacts that are sort of data points in isolation almost. We've got some texts like Sennacherib's Prism, and if that's all we had, then historians could sort of could try and build a story around that as to what happened. And essentially, when we come to the Bible, we find that is giving us a particular story around those same historical data points, if you like. So it's giving us history, but with an agenda. Theological history, I think you called it. Yeah. So it's telling a story that's built on that historical core, but it's really aiming to make bigger points about human beings and choices as to whether to trust in a God or not.